Okay, we're just at the end of the 8 a.m. turn, and a bit of action out on the far left and the far right. The cavalry was active out here on the left, and the Russian avant-garde attempted some assaults out on the far right, testing those French defences. Out on the left here, Schneller's light cavalry tried to test these French cavalry defences, and they sent in these chevaux de guerres against the French hussars, and they had some light success, caused a few casualties, recalled those defenders, and then pulled back, regrouping back with the rest of the cavalry. Still a bit concerned. I don't want to commit too much of this cavalry, but this is a good little sortie by Schneller. I think he inflicted 3 casualties, disordered that unit, and scaring the French a little, just threatening their positions. Elsewhere, behind the lines, you can see some of these Austrians of the right wing moving up. And further to the right, the Prussians now advancing far through the Grosser Gardens. They've got their skirmishers out in front. They do have cavalry in amongst the lines there. Earlier, this cavalry did suffer some casualties from that artillery, so they're just taking some cover behind that infantry. And what I'm thinking is the Prussians will hit the French lines here. The Russians were active, this avant-garde over here, but they didn't have too much success. There were a series of assaults against these French positions. They did manage to disorder a little stack here, but you saw that routed unit off in the background, and a few other Russian casualties throughout the line. This unit was really battered. 2 casualties in a rout, and not much damage. Just that disorder result was the only thing that happened. And that was, I think, due to a fail in their role to stand against the assault. And also, again, French guns causing some hits across the river at medium range now. All right, so that is the situation at the end of the 8 a.m. turn. Okay, it's now the end of the 8:20 a.m. turn. And again, more cavalry action out on the left and more Russian attacks out on the right. Out on the left here, this time it was the French counterattacking that exhausted cavalry out on the left, Allied cavalry out here. And pretty much the reverse of the last turn's result. This time the French inflicting some heavy casualties on that chevaux de guerre, and then pulling back. It's a bit of back and forth over there. More Austrians moving up through this area on the left. The Prussians now out on the right here, just about to begin to assault those French defences. They could have assaulted this turn. They just wanted to be in a better position to coordinate their attacks. But out on the far east here, this Russian avant-garde has been very active. We had what are they called? The Bug Cossacks getting involved. They charged disordered artillery and infantry. They routed, that unit failed their role to stand, and they managed to spike the guns, so that artillery has been destroyed. And what else is happening? Sorry, that's the artillery there. The Russians failed an assault here. The 43rd Division, Claparade, has brought up some more units to defend this first redoubt. They don't want this to fall too easily. I should say the French are inflicting a lot of casualties on the Russians here, largely through powerful artillery fire. So these Russian units, while they look numerous, are suffering some. You can see there down to 2 steps. These are the guys who suffered last night. So there are a lot of reduced units here, disordered. They're suffering from artillery fire across the river. and from those redoubts. And the Prussians too, as they advance, you can see some of these lead units have lost some increments there, being hit by artillery fire from those French defences. And that's important for the French. It's just reducing, every hit reduces the effectiveness of those Prussians in their upcoming assaults. Okay, so that's the end of the 8:20 AM turn. We're just on 8:40 AM. Okay, so at the end of the 8:40 AM turn, both the Prussians and the Russians have begun to strike on that eastern French series of defensive positions, mostly unsuccessfully. French defensive fire has been very successful. They have, just as these Prussians and Russians have advanced, they've quite rapidly reduced those units as they move through that open ground. And by the time they came into assault, there weren't many left. Up in the top area, sort of up around here, some of these Russians were assaulting with only 2 or 3 increments by the time they actually got to the assault phase. That's advancing in the face of these French artillery pieces and I think just French infantry in line, the artillery across the river, and everything else. And the Prussians, there was a cavalry charge in around here, very brief, very small, which was unsuccessful. They bounced. You can see the French in square. Where are they? Just in here. So the cavalry charge was small but unsuccessful. Out on the left, the cavalry has been pretty quiet. There was only really one Allied success in assault, and that was here, where you can see some Prussian infantry has advanced into the space. They just have some casualties in the process, but they managed to get a good roll on the assault table and force those French back. And you can see these French routed units back in the old city of Dresden. In the process, however, behind the lines, in fact, I haven't done the rally rolls yet, but there are quite a few disordered Allied units and quite a few routed behind the lines. Elsewhere, as I said, the cavalry out on the left was pretty quiet, and just in the centre here, the Austrians still very slowly moving up. So we're now at the end of 8:40 turn. It's 9 AM, and yeah, most of the activity there out on this right hand side where the Prussians and Russians are hitting those French positions.